My name's Thomas Waddle. This is the Whisky Sour Hour, and we are joined by Rubi Roberts, the basic bachelor. How are you doing?
I'm good, Thomas. How are you?
Aye, not too bad, not too bad. We were talking obviously earlier before you came on, and it was like, do you want me to refer to you as Rubi Roberts? Because obviously we've grew up basically together.
Yeah.
So if I do say Ruby or Ruth, it's basically the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's allowed. It's allowed. How's things? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Keeping busy as usual. How's yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. I the same. Just got in a suit and trying to make it to the end of the week. So we're doing all right. But listen. Thanks so much for coming on. Obviously, it's again we were talking before. Something about pro wrestling just seems to gravitate towards kind of the podcasting sphere at the moment. So yeah, no, it's we obviously had Bobby Roberts on the other week there. Thank you very much again for coming on, Bobby. And you've obviously got your Respect Pro Wrestling hat on, which is repping. They had a golden chance at the weekend there, which we were talking about in that podcast. And I believe your partner was on the dance card. Yes,
made his debut for the company. Did really, really well.
That's amazing. No, that's great news. Well done. But yeah, just obviously, I think coming for the west of Scotland, you don't really realise just how big the wrestling sphere is around here, and to actually take a step back and look at actually who's in the WWE and kind of where we are. And I think growing up as well, it was like we kind of grew up at the right time where it was like the kind of zeitgeist out with the Hulk Hogan's, who obviously has passed away just recently. We probably grew up in, I would argue, the best time with the Attitude Era, and your Stone Cold Steve Austin's, the Rocks, and what was it that drew you into it? Was it watching wrestling, or did you get into it later on in life? What was it that got you going?
So I grew up watching wrestling. I don't know if you remember, but I was quite a rambunctious child. I quite liked rolling about with other kids, fighting, getting into trouble, especially when I was younger. And I got into wrestling because it was like a more theatrical version of something I was already doing. And there was good guys and bad guys. And I got to see things that we didn't really get to see in the town that we grew up in. Like, you saw women like China, who came out in, I think it was 97. And I remember seeing her for the first time and just being like, oh my God, she is so cool. I've never seen anyone like that before. What, like, not in a disrespectful way, but what is this?
No, definitely. I mean, China, was it ninth wonder of the world? So, I mean, you don't get called that for nothing. You know, Andre was like the 8th because he was like 7'3". She was an absolute tank. So,
like she like was unlike anyone else. And then you had people like Lita as well, who was doing moves that at that point we hadn't really seen women do. She was getting to wrestle guys the same way China was, but not at the same sort of, because China was getting like title shots. Whereas Lita was absolutely dominating, helping out in the tag division. And like, it was seeing women like that, like, not just the women, don't get me wrong, I'm a massive Stone Cold fan and The Rock, and I was that wee fanny who was running about going, "Can you smell?" in the street. So like it was watching all of these bigger than life characters and just being like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like, even in the 90s when there was like nothing like that about, I was like, I want to do that one day. I'll find a way.
I used to get the I never had Sky till like kind of later on, so I used to get the videotapes off a neighbour, and I used to watch it. I think it was Heat on Channel 4 or something like that. I remember like recording the Royal Rumble. I can't remember when it was, and it was live in Channel 4. So I think we definitely grew up in the best time, because like you're saying, you mentioned like Stone Cold, The Rock. To be honest, my favourite characters were like the kind of mid to lower card, like Scotty Too Hotty, man, too cool.
Yeah. He's someone I've not had the chance to meet yet, that I'm like, oh, I want to meet him so bad. And like, I just, like, it sounds sad, but I want to see him do the worm in person.
Oh no, definitely. I think everybody at least has tried to do the worm at least once and failed miserably.
Oh God,
It's just no for happening. So obviously you're saying that you've watched the wrestling up to a point. At what point do you think to yourself, you know what, I want to try that? Because you'll hear it, I'm sure you've had it through your time, oh, wrestling's no real and all that. The fact of the matter is, the ending is, preordained, but you know how you get there is up to yourself, and a lot of the stuff is pretty legit. So what makes you want to do that?
So I was always, like I said earlier, I was always a child who, I mean, I have many, many, many brothers, as you know, and we used to fight like you would not believe. Like it was like our favourite pastime was just to kick the crap out of each other. And from a very, very young age, I was like, I want to do this, I want to do this, to the point actually where I kind of got banned from watching wrestling or playing wrestling games or having any involvement with wrestling. I kind of put my brother Callum into television.
Oh, nice. And we're not talking about flat screens here. This is like a proper tube. It would have been
We
huge.
had just got it. We had to help my mum's, like, my mum is like 5 foot tall. She's not a big woman. And like we had to, at that age, we were already like bigger than her. So we had to like lift this absolute mammoth of a telly onto the unit. It took us everything getting on there and getting it straightened up. This thing was enormous. And then later on in the day, Callum's decided to pick a fight with me. I wasn't in the mood for it, so I've just grabbed him and suplexed him over the top of me. He's went feet first straight into the television and broke it. And this was like kind of in fairness to my mum, she wasn't overreacting because like there had been several instances leading up to this where wrestling had been involved and things had happened where people got hurt or things got broken. So I'm like, do you know what? Fair, I get it. But it was much later on that actually you mentioned Callum Petrie. I was with him going to a wrestling class because we were both convinced by two local people to go to a class with them at the Source Wrestling School, which is actually where Piper Niven trained. And we both went up, did the intake, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this. Oh my God, that was hard, but I want to do this. At that point, it was a little unit that was situated just off the side of where Ibrox is. So like the beginning of this warm-up was, bearing in mind at this point, I was like 2010, I hadn't done any exercise really after having my son. So I nearly died, man. We had to run around Ibrox 3 times, like the whole way around the massive building 3 times. And that was just the beginning of the warm-up.
That's I mean that's a pretty rough one, and I don't think the cardiovascular activity is really, you know, given as much credit as what it should be, especially for wrestlers. You see how many guys do you see coming back? You know, like I think it was The Rock, John Cena, and he's, you know, gassed out in like 5 minutes, and these things going for like 25, 30 onwards. You know, so aye, scary stuff.
Aye, and the thing is, like your cardio is so important, no matter what, like big guy, small guy. Like fat guy, thingy guy, woman, whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Your cardio still matters for wrestling because you, like you said, matches can go from like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, all the way up like 45 minutes an hour. Especially when you start getting like up to things like your WrestleManias and stuff where you've got these big feature matches that are basically like an entire show in themselves. It's your cardio is so damn important, and oh my God, did that take a long time to develop. But yeah, like the first class I went to, I had the bug, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. I only got to go for about 3 months though, because I suffered an injury at my real job and dislocated my shoulder, tore it out the socket. I ended up having to get surgery for it. So I ended up taking a huge break before I ever went back to wrestling because I thought with that it was never going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
So this is like a really long, windy thing how I get back into it.
The journey is worth it. You keep spinning the yarn. That's what it's about.
So yeah, during the time after hurting my shoulder, I developed a condition called fibromyalgia. Mm-hmm. Which is a chronic like pain condition that is centered around basically having a autonomic nervous system that doesn't work properly. So like phantom pain, chronic fatigue, loads of different symptoms. It's horrendous. And I'd put on quite a lot of weight. I'd ended up with a walking stick. And it was 2018 that my cousin Rubi Roberts, who you'd mentioned earlier, had just opened up his own wrestling school in the community annex in Loughborough. Mm-hmm. And it was weird because I hadn't actually seen him since I was at Source the first time. We hadn't actually like spoken really since then, and we bumped into each other pure randomly in the petrol garage. And he was like, "Do you know what? I've seen what's happening on Facebook. He's like, I see you've tried literally everything else. He's like, you've tried going to Zumba, you've tried swimming, you've tried this, you've tried that. He's like, why not give wrestling a try? You really enjoyed it the first time, like it's something you love doing. So maybe having that love there will sort of push you to try hard, and it might improve your mobility a bit. And do you know what I was like, do you know what? I've literally tried everything I can think of. I mean, I'd been to Tai Chi classes with like 90-year-olds and everything. I'd gone through every other option. I was like, do you know what? Yeah, let's do it, because I did love it, but I was doing it and I was really gutted that I'd had to stop. So I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And I didn't really think that I was going to be able to do shows. Like, do you know that way in my head at that point? I just thought I just want to be able to like do something without having to use my walking stick every 2 minutes, because it was crap. And especially because at that point I was only 26 years old. So like being 26 and having to use a walking stick and struggling to like walk to the end of the street just isn't it. It was horrendous, and I just was like, nah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to absolutely throw myself at it and just see what happens. Because worst case, I just end up not being able to walk more. And I'm already kind of there. So what's the worst that could happen? I went along, and don't get me wrong, it was actually 10 times harder the second time going back, obviously, with all the extra issues. I used to joke that everyone else started at 0 and I had to start at -10. Because like honestly, see, after that first class, I had to, so I live in like a house 2 stories, there's obviously stairs. I literally couldn't walk up the stairs after this class for like a good 6 days. I was like crawling up the stairs and then having to sit on the steps and bump down on my arse to get to the bottom. And I'd started being able to walk again by the time the next class rolled around, which was challenging but worth it in the long run. And that sort of continued on for a while. But do you know that way, because I loved it so much, I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. Like I've proper, like I've got the bug, and I need to keep doing this. And it was gradually, very slowly helping things. Where about a year and a half later, I'd basically lost a couple of stone and was at the point where we're like, I could do a show. Like, I think like my trainers agreed. They were like, you can do a match. Your cardio's up to par. Like, we think you're ready. And I was like, yeah, let's do that then. Let's see how that goes. And that was again Lochlanna Community Annex. It was one of Respect Pro Wrestling's earlier on shows. And yeah, it went okay. Could have been better. But I think everybody thinks that about their first match. I don't really know anyone who looks back on it and goes, yeah, that was great. That was perfect.
No, absolutely. I think we've spoke to many a kind of arts. You know, the arts. I mean, it's a form of, you know, you could argue it's like a form of, you know, dance in a way, because it's like you need a partner, takes two to tango, that kind of stuff. And I think you're going to be hypercritical at any art you put out there. You know, so the fact that you're going out there and doing it, and you know, putting yourself out there, that's the kind of big thing. If you hear kind of weird noises, I don't have like somebody trapped in the corner. My dog's decided to drag her like kind of, you know, no her bum across the floor, but just herself, and now she knows I'm talking about her, so she's probably getting a bit more active at the moment, so I may need to jump out and just open that door. But yeah, no, putting yourself out there, you're going to be hypercritical. Are you at a point now where you are like happy with the product you put out there? Are you hypercritical yourself and you're like, I can always get better and keep pushing? Is that something you're into?
Yeah, so I've always been the type of person where I am super critical of everything that I do, because I always want it to be better. Like, there's never a day where I want to get to the point where I'm like, I know everything. I am the guy. I nobody can tell me anything, because then what's the point if there's nothing else to learn? So I'm not gonna lie, I'm very, very critical of myself, to the point where other people are like, you need to like chill a bit. Like, that was not bad. Whereas I'm going like, oh, that could have been better, that could have been more perfect, and that could have been in a better place. But it's something that I think I need to do, because I feel like it just constantly drives me to be better. And if there's never a sort of end point to that, then it means that I'll never get bored. Like, if there's a million different ways to tell the same story, and there's a million different ways to use your body to tell a story, especially when you take into consideration all the different sort of influences that wrestling has. Like Japan's got a completely different style to what America has, and America has a completely different style to what Mexico has, and they all have a completely different style to what we have, because what we have I would describe as murder panto.
So
It's
I can totally see it. Like, as I say, like again, talking before the point, you probably should just hit record as soon as the conversation started. You know, when the call started. But yeah, no, like I grown up and I do you remember? Do you remember in Sky the wrestling channel? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Aye, so it's like I used to like I got right into so you mentioned Japan, it was like that's a hard style, you know, it's like it's like kicks that look like really heavy, and you're like, I don't know if guys are walking away for that. Lucha Libre, Mexican, I'm not really too mad for that. And then obviously you were talking about like the kind of British and that, so like my mum was a big fan of World of Sport, so it's like that kind of, and the kind of rest hold, but it was like things that looked like they really hurt. And forgive me, I'm not up to date with the kind of more recent and the most recent years, but I seen a guy, it was a WWE clip I saw, and it was like proper like you know, arm holds that you're like, oh, that looks like it's going to hurt. And I remember watching World of Sport, I think it was like Gym Breaks or something, a Gym Break special. If anybody hasn't saw it, you need to Google this like finisher, man. It looks ridiculously painful, up there with like, you know, the cross faces of the world and sharpshooters. So yeah, no, it's I love the different styles, and the fact that you see it everywhere, like every show now. It's not just like one. You get that, but you get like an entire mix. That's cool, man. The mixing pot, you know, that's what it's about.
Aye, it's amazing, and it's great when you get to, if you get the chance to sort of travel internationally, see the amount of different people that you meet and different sort of points of view and styles that you come across. They're amazing. And it's one of those things that even if you don't all speak the same language, because you all share that love of wrestling, it gives you a commonality that you can sort of find a way to communicate about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I really love about wrestling is it's just there's a million different flavors of ice cream. There's like a million different ways to do it. And everybody's got their own slight wee variation, because obviously everybody's body's slightly different. Yeah. So sometimes somebody will do something, you'll see it and you're like, oh, I think that would suit me better than the way we do it normally. And you sort of try it out and you can end up finding your own way into things and your own way to do things. It's like I'm not the biggest fan of Lucha Libre, mostly because I can't do it and it annoys me. I am 34. My knees will crumble. I have a very limited skill set when it comes to gymnastics. But when it comes to things like British style, we've got, like you said, hold for hold, and it's more rooted in sort of traditional Greco-Roman wrestling. I love stuff like that. A good long time ago, again, I'm saying the community annex had a class. It was Glima, which is Viking wrestling, which is the way Vikings used to fight. So a lot of it's physical based. It's very, very similar to judo, but not exactly the same. Because I did judo when I was younger as well. I used to love doing that, although my ADHD did not suit the discipline side of it at all. Like George used to give me so many push-ups and squats. I could not answer, because like my memory is awful. See, for names of things, so bad. Even with wrestling, people get really annoyed because I'll be like, is that the spinny thing with like where you do the thing? And they'll be like, how do you not know this? I'm like, because my brain doesn't work. But I used to be like, oh, what is the name of this? And somebody else would be like, Eponagi. For some reason, that's like the only one that sticks in my head. And I would, my wee smart ass brain would just be like, make a joke. Especially if you don't know the answer, just make a joke. And I'd be like, oh, that's Yoshi's boyfriend. Or like something to that effect. Squats, push-ups every time, 50, every single smart ass comment. Just like,
oh, so you were doing more squats than actual wrestling training, is what you're, or, you know, judo or anything like that, is what you're telling me, right?
Yeah.
No, that's
strong
it.
ass legs though.
Aye, that's it. You know, you'll be able to, you're talking about, you'll be able to do some of the lifts, a gorilla press or something like that.
Aye.
Well, you mentioned obviously like the different styles for around the world. Obviously, you've toured, which is really cool. You mentioned, but again, prior to coming on, how you'd been in Sweden this year. Do you want to talk about that? I mean, that's I never knew this was a thing, so this is very cool.
Yeah, so Sweden have this massive rock festival, which I would say is like their version of Download. It's called Sweden Rock Festival, and it is so cool. This was the second year that I got to do it. Where basically in the same way that NXT used to do shows at Download, they have us set up in one of the tents. It's the Piston Head tent, and basically there's a stage in there for when there's performances in between. And 3 times a day we would host a show where we would come out and we would do our thing. And because it's not necessarily a wrestling crowd, it's not people that have paid for wrestling tickets, it's a really good environment to be very story orientated and really have fun and be a little bit ridiculous and like a lot more over the top than you would normally be. So it was amazing. And obviously because we're working there, got to see some of the acts that were on in between wrestling, which was amazing. I got to see Slipknot and Korn the first two nights.
That's a pretty good combination. It's almost like a kind of heavy metal house show by the sounds of it, you know. So it's
Yeah.
I'm TMing that. That's mine. Mate. I'm going to start. That's like the kind of meant to happen. It's peanut butter and chocolate there. But yeah, so like when you're doing that, like how do you have to put yourself forward for that, or does somebody come and ask you like, oh, would you want to come and wrestle in this rock festival? How does that come about?
So I was asked if I wanted to do it. I had worked for the promoter who does the show. So basically the guy that runs the company that was contacted by Sweden Rock, he contacted me because I'd worked for him previously and asked me if I would like to do it. Was it my kind of thing? I was like, yes, immediate yes. And we just sort of went from there. It's unreal. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure I'm slightly deaf now, but it was absolutely amazing. It was so much fun. The area that we have to get ready in is actually like beside the underneath of a stage. So while you're getting ready, you've literally got a band right there, like performing to like a whole crowd who can't see you, just sort of like getting into your wrestling gear.
That's that's crazy. Like, so are you wrestling during the interludes? Or are you wrestling while like Corn's on the stage or that? You know, like
No, so it's in between. So there's lots of similar to Download. There's lots of different tents and lots of different stages. So the tent that we're in, the Piston Head tent, has a schedule of their own, and in between those bands, they would have like maybe 2 or 3 bands, and then it would be us, and then another couple of bands, and then us. But you did unfortunately have the guys doing their sound check sometimes. So like we would be doing our thing and we don't have microphones. We're just like shouting into the ether. And if you can imagine, this is a huge tent. So like we're screaming and like hardly anyone bar like the first 10 foot of people can hear what we're saying. So it doesn't help when you've then got guys going 1, 2, 1, 2 over the top of you. You're just like, thanks, mate. I actually got stopped in the middle of a match at one point after I'd knocked someone clear flat down. They're like on the ground, like, I'm literally just like, mate, like looking straight at the guy from the ring, just like, really, thanks. And it's like back to business. But it was just like, could you not?
I imagine it would throw your kind of timing off if you're trying to like, because imagine like you're saying earlier, it's almost like a dance. If you're getting ready to hit like a lariat or a clothesline, or you know something like that, you're probably counting in your head like, right, ready, 1, 2, and then you've got somebody shouting that. I would imagine it would be quite
or like somebody strumming a guitar on the amps and it's loud as hell, and you're suddenly like, oh fuck. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
That's
like, okay. It's okay. We're demonetized. It's fine.
But yeah, like you just like, don't get me wrong, it's not so much a little off-putting, but it was more just the kind of annoyance of every so often getting that fright and then or just being completely drowned out completely. You're like,
because I imagine obviously we were talking earlier, some of the best characters, like you believe, you know, Stone Cold is like the bionic redneck and The Rock is, you know, speaking about yourself in the third person. If you're in the middle of the ring, you're your character, you're Ruby Roberts, and somebody strums something and you're like, you get a fright and you're like a kind of screaming, you totally break character or something, you know. It could be how do you combat that? Like how do you not break? And I don't want to use kind of behind the scene terms, but like how do you not break kayfabe when you're doing that? Like what happens there?
I mean, see, to be fair, at this point, WWE have got a behind-the-scenes show on Netflix, so I feel like kayfabe's dead and buried at this point.
I think we all know that we all know the score, like the behind-the-scenes stuff, because I think that's you're maybe going a bit too far now, because you're like, is this real or is it no? And it kind of it loses its mystique anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think you don't need to see that. It's like, you don't want to go to the sausage factory and see the sausages get made. You just want them, on your desk.
It's like, do you remember there used to be a show that was on Sky One? It was just after the wrestling, and it was this magician show where the guy had a mask
magician.
on. Yeah, and he would reveal all the secrets of magic. And then wrestling saw that and went, do you know what? We're going to do the same thing. And they put a bunch of masks on wrestlers and had them show how it done. Do you know that way? I'm like, even at the age I was at, I'm like, why are you showing me this? This is just showing me how to kill someone at home. Like, why are you showing me this?
Your brother's going to get an absolute doing, basically, is what is happening.
Yeah. But like, I feel like kills the mysticism a wee bit. It's like running up to kids and going, Santa's no real, by the way. Ooh. Like, it's no fair. But like, a lot of people have a split of opinion on this, but I very much made Ruby to be me turned up to 11. So it's easier to sort of slip in and out of the character when it's just a bigger, bolder version of yourself. I used to sort of joke that Ruby's just like a very aggressive scheme maw, or like a very aggressive goth scheme maw.
Which are the most aggressive scheme maws, we all know.
Yeah. So like, do you know that way? I was like, that is basically just me, just a lot more angry and a lot more, well, depending on the situation, but like a lot more angry and a lot more aggressive. So for me, it's that, but I usually try and play it off with some kind of humor or some kind of like interaction, because if something happens and we react in a way that lets the crowd know that it was really not meant to happen, or oh shit, something's wrong, or oh, we effed up there, then it does take them out of that illusion a bit. Whereas it's obviously a live show, so things, if it's a real fight, things are potentially going to go wrong. If you then go and like engage with the crowd and make a deliberate sort of like, oh, well, that wasn't meant to happen, or like make a joke out of it, or just, you know, make it seem a bit more natural and in part of the show, then it doesn't take them out of it as much, and it makes you feel a bit more at ease as well, because it's less of that, oh god, something went wrong, and more sort of, well, that didn't go right, oh well, let's do something else then.
Well, that's it. You know, it's like when you go to any kind of live performance and you know something doesn't go to plan, and it's about how you handle it. And if you kind of just go, that's the breaks or something, you know, folk are more likely to, you know, just be like, that's it. But you know yourself, you know, if it goes totally off the rails, it totally just drags people out of it. And it's about being that, it's professionalism, being able to carry it that way. So I imagine, you know, doing that in a rock tent, try to stay in character, you're spinning a lot of plates. If some fall, it's just about how you handle that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I had the unfortunate that's not how you word that. My brain just totally glitched. Sorry. So I did have a bit of an unfortunate thing happen where I got injured in one of my matches. It meant that for the last day of the festival, I couldn't actually wrestle. I had mentioned the injury that I had where I damaged my shoulder when I was at work, and I've had surgery on that. But occasionally, not very often, but occasionally, if it's hit the right way, or if it's just, you know, being a dick that day, it will pop out the socket. And unfortunately, I cannot. I've watched part of the match back, and I genuinely cannot work out when it's happened. But at some point during one of my matches, my shoulder has popped out the socket, and then you can kind of see me trying to pop it back in during the match. I've managed to continue the match on with it kind of partially reinserted into my shoulder. And then basically got backstage and had to like grab onto something, redislocate it and relocate it, because through that way it was just not sitting right. I was like, I'm not going to a hospital in another country. I'm not doing this. But unfortunately it did mean that I had to, well, I didn't have to. I offered to ref for the next day, because I was like, I can do that with one arm and I don't want to be there and not participate. So I was like, I'll be a referee for the day, a wee special guest ref Ruby.
Nice.
Sometimes half-assed.
So I mean, like, obviously that's kind of, you know, it's the perils, really, isn't it? You know, at the end of the day, there is the physical aspects of it, and it's a lot more than what a lot of people think. Obviously, you need to be, we mentioned earlier, relatively fit. and you know the strains you're putting in your body, because like if you're wrestling full time, you know you're over 300 odd days a year. You know, people go to work for less than that. So it's hard graft. Is there a highlight of the career so far where you're like, that's kind of where you want to be? Is it your touring in Sweden here, or is there other things where you're like, that's where I want to be? And what is it that pushes you to get there?
So I've always said I want to just see how far I can push it, because I've never been someone to just, it sounds bad, but like pick just one goal and be like, right, I'm laser focused on that one goal. I don't know if it's the ADHD or what, but like that seems too specific. Whereas if I just see how far I can push myself and where I can get to, then there's no limit to what I can do.
Yeah. So
I've always said that I want to just keep grafting, keep pushing, and then see where it takes me. I very much doubt this is going to happen, especially given that some of the releases from WWE recently. I always was joking that I wanted to be the first Scottish woman on AEW, because they haven't had one yet. But given some of the releases recently, I'm like, that's probably not going to happen now.
just has to be first Scottish champion then in AEW, I think is what you're saying. Then
exactly. See, we changed the goal. We
move the goalposts. That's it. It always works out. No,
exactly.
No, that's no. Listen, that's what it's about. It's about kind of pushing yourself. So you're kind of recovering still from your injury, I believe, yeah.
So I'm thankfully in the end stages of it. I've been gently working it. I've been sort of continuing to train, just very much looking after it. I did have a match a couple of weeks ago, which went fine. Minimal pain, like went great. So I am currently taking like a wee bit of a break this month, just to sort of let it finally finish off healing, and then I'll be back to it.
So like when you're doing that, I mean, like I always used to find, you mentioned like Roman Greco. There was like a summer in 2014 after the Commonwealth Games, where I was like, I'm going to pick this up and start doing it, and I done it for like maybe like 7-8 weeks, and my knees were killing me. And I remember somebody out there going like, if you're recovering from an injury and you're told like take a month, actually take 2 months, so it's your body and how long it reacts to and recovers. So it's you need to just go with what you're feeling, really, isn't it? Until you're ready.
Especially because, so this is going to sound nuts, I always make jokes that I have all these conditions and that I should just put the abbreviations after my name and pretend like I'm a doctor. Because I also recently found out that I have something called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which for short HEDS, which is something we didn't actually know that I basically was born with. We only recently found this out, but it's only because sort of diagnostic tools and stuff have gotten better. But essentially I'm hypermobile, so all of my connective tissue doesn't really work properly. So like I can pull my pinky right far back, or I can never show this off properly, like touch down here. My knees lock out the wrong way, things like that.
What, like a goat then? Is that what you're
yes, yes. Like I remember, the funny thing is, I remember when I was younger saying to my mum once, I was like, Mum, why do my knees look different from everyone else's? And she went, no, they don't, they look like mine. And I'm going, yeah, but they don't look like everyone else's. And she was like, no, there's nothing wrong with your knees. And then I find out years and years later, oh yeah, no, they're not meant to lock all the way out. They're not meant to like bend back the way. And it turns out she's got it as well. That's why hers are the same.
Oh.
But it means that I tread a weird line, because there are some instances where I am slightly more likely to get injured, but then there's also instances where I have pain, something is wrong, but it's not necessarily an injury. And sometimes I have to try and listen to my body to sort of figure out whether it's an actual injury, if that makes sense, or if it's just something's not sitting in the right place, or something's just decided to move a wee bit and it's not meant to have moved. Like my collarbone, for example, it has popped out of where it's supposed to sit in my shoulder before, and we've had to sort of like pop it back in. My kneecaps move out of the way and things. So like, do you know, that way, it's very much a case of listening to my body and having to tread that line of deciding, right, okay, this does seem like I might need to go get it checked out by a medical professional, or yeah, no, this is just my body being horrible and we're going to ignore it and just like give it a wee bit of like maybe like a week to chill out, and then we'll just get straight back to training.
No, absolutely. It's you need to listen to what your body's saying, because you don't want to like, aggravate anything. And like you're saying, you didn't, you done it in 2010. You didn't know you were ever going to come back to it, and you keep going. So it's like I always like to just kind of, enjoy the moments, but you also want to be looking at the future and you want to prolong this as much as you can. So yeah, taking care of yourself is paramount for that, really.
Yeah, that's also why I don't do a lot of the high fly stuff, because don't get me wrong, there's like a little version of me inside, like the child version of me inside, still going, yeah, do it, jump, do it.
Aye.
But there's then the practical side of me going, no, I would like to do this for a long time, and I do not want to require knee surgery before it is probably going to be relevant. Like,
Aye.
just stave that off as long as possible.
No, definitely. It's like, everybody wants that a baseball slide and obviously a 619. I think for us it'd be an 01505 we would be calling it, but that's
Oh God, I remember. So you obviously do learn these things, even if you're not going to be hitting them, you still learn them because you need to know the mechanics of it, you need to know how to take it. And when I learned how to do it originally, I was quite a bit heavier than I am just now. And the bruises from doing it. So like, obviously there's a technique to doing that where you catch the bottom rope and the top rope and you're swinging your legs through. Do you know what nobody tells you? Don't do that if you've got bingo wings. Don't do it, because your bingo wing will get wrapped up in the top rope and it will be bruised black. It was horrendous. That way I've stopped and I've come off and I'm like, oh, and everyone's like, oh God, what happened? What went wrong? And I'm like, I caught my bingo wing in the rope.
No, that's that I can imagine that's like, the worst like nip you're ever going to get. that's
no, there's so much worse that I've had, but that was a bad one. I remember as well learning a over the top rope exit, which is like, obviously if you're doing things like a Royal Rumble, you need to know how to like guide yourself down safely if somebody chucks you over the top rope. Just like for pure safety sake, you need to know how to catch yourself. And we were doing this. I had never done anything like it before. Again, still quite heavy at that point. And again, the bruising across my stomach from the top rope, because I think people think because they stretch that they don't hurt, or like it's not like that hard. No. It sucks. It's something you have to basically build a callus up for. Like running the ropes. If you watch, it doesn't happen so much on WWE because they have steel ropes, but if you watch any indie shows, or if you watch shows where they've made the ropes with nylon and then tape, they leave marks. Like they straight up leave like rope burn and all sorts across people's back. And like I've had it myself where it just leaves these big lines across your back. So like if you imagine you're exposing your soft stomach to this as you're like launching your whole body weight over it to like throw yourself over, it was all black, the whole thing, for weeks after. And that way I was just like, yep, this will be worth it one day. It will be worth it.
I think the ring itself is just like, it's not, it doesn't give any, quarter, even the mat, it's canvas. I do not want to phone like canvas, especially, like it's maybe got a small amount of springs in it, but it's who cares? Like I'm not dropping in that. Like,
do you know what I think a lot of people think that there's like a big like load of springs under there and it's really bouncy, like a bouncy castle. It's really not. It's layers of, like, some of them are in the UK, you usually find it's called a flex beam ring, and it's like steel beams that go across. That's the only flex, is the steel beams that go across. There's then wood on top of that. There's like various things, canvas. There's not a lot of give in that. So when you're hitting it, like you need a lot of impact to get the bounce back on it. So I don't think people realize that, because everybody goes, oh, it's padded. I'm sorry. No. We're talking like, I have wrestled in wrestling rings where the padding is just basically like hard foam that's maybe an inch, and then carpet. Like that was, so do you know what I mean? Like it's not this big fluffy cloud we're landing on. It sucks. And it's the same as like a basic bump, not like an elevated one off a rope or anything, just a basic bump where you're hitting the ground. That's the same as a 30 mile an hour car crash. Like every single time you do it, We just learn how to land safely so we don't die.
But then that all adds up, doesn't it? You know, you need to just be careful with what you're doing, and like you're saying, listening to yourself. Although, you know, even the basic bumps you're talking about, like taking a backdrop and just like it just looks painful anyway. You know, so
Yeah, but I don't know how to describe it because it sounds like you are psychotic when you say this, but it's so much fun doing it, and like especially if you get really into it, the sort of passion that you get for it, you don't care that it hurts. Like it's not that it doesn't hurt, it's that it's just kind of a given that it's gonna hurt, and that's part of the package, and you do it in spite of that. Like who cares? It's like I got to perform in front of hundreds of people and get one of the best adrenaline rushes in the world. It hurt a wee bit. Who cares?
that's it. I mean, the adrenaline will be a big help with that. Like, I imagine, you know, being quite high on it, you'll be able to push through it. Do you feel like after you've had like a really good showing that you're like, oh, I'm feeling this a wee bit now, or are you
Oh
okay?
yeah. Oh yeah. There's so like adrenaline is the best painkiller you will ever have. I have done matches where straight after I'm like, yeah, I feel great. That's amazing. That was awesome. Yeah, like, and then like maybe 20 minutes, half an hour later, I start being like, start to feel that a wee bit. Okay, what the hell was that? I don't remember having that. I literally have to watch matches back and be like, oh, that's how I hurt that. Oh, that's how that happened. Because like right after the match, there's so much adrenaline going that you don't even notice. Like I've had full-on injuries that I didn't even realize I had until like the next day when I've woken up going, oh, I can't move. Oh, why can't I move? So like, yeah, the adrenaline's a massive help. It's also like it helps with the scariness of it, to be honest. I'm terrified of heights. I have been terrified of heights since I was about 5. I don't know if you'll remember this. Like, do you know where the old primary school was? The original primary school.
Are you going to say the
Um,
pyramid here? Is this what it is? You know, the old
no,
girls'
no,
entrance?
it was the
No.
trees. So do you know down where the girls' exit was?
Yeah.
They're still there, but there's these big tall trees. And when I was about 5 years old, I thought it'd be a great idea to climb as high up one of these trees as I could. And eventually they got to the point where the branches couldn't hold my weight and they've just given way. And I fell from quite a high height where my mum's just at the bottom, kind of looking at me going, oh crap. Um, the only thing that actually saved me was one of the branches went through my kneecap.
Oh, jeez.
So like on the way down, it's like pierced through the skin of my kneecap and sort of broken the fall a wee bit because it's kind of bounced before it snapped. So it's like stopped me a wee bit in air and then I went straight down. And ever since then, I have been crap terrified of heights. Even just like getting up in a top rope when it's like in a training setting because there's no like crowd adrenaline going. There's not that sort of sense of urgency. And depends on how I'm feeling that day. But I've seen myself get up there and my legs just turn to jelly, like full on shaking. But then there's other times you can sort of push through that. Whereas when the adrenaline's going, your brain's just like, yeah, let's go. Just jump, just yeah. Woo, people are watching. So you've got no choice. You're kind of just going.
No, listen, that's like you're saying, it's probably the best painkiller. But like when some of the maddest decisions are made, how many times have you seen wrestlers at like the top of a ladder and you're thinking they're not going to do that? I don't know how they push themselves to do it. Adrenaline will be a big part of that.
Yeah, like I genuinely can't describe. There's nothing I've really done that's like it. Like I've done at points I've done I did drama and acting and stage performances and I've done like competitive sports. Like I used to do swimming championships and stuff when I was younger, judo, gymnastics when I was a lot younger. So like I've done a lot of sort of performance based sports and different things, and nothing touches wrestling. Like there's no feeling quite like it, and I don't really understand fully why. I don't know if it's just the combination of all the different elements of you've got a bit of acting and you've got that connection with the crowd and you've got the athleticism of it and obviously the adrenaline, but it's just this thing that I don't really know how to explain. It's just so different to everything else that I've done.
It's just you found what you like, and when you get to a point where you're enjoying something, and I'm not talking about like, we've spoke about games in the podcast and stuff. There's a difference between that, but when you're actually doing something like when you fall in love with like basketball or hockey or football or whatever it might be, it comes so easily to you. Like you want to learn, and like you're saying, the pain you're pushing through. I actually didn't mind playing goals in hockey, but the first thing you need to do is get over the fear of getting hit with a ball, because it's going to hurt and it's happening. You just need to accept that. You must be the same, like this back bump is going to hurt, but I love it.
I will say, when I first started, because there was obviously I didn't know how my body worked at that point, because there was a big shift between the younger version of me that was doing all of these various competitions, swimming and judo and gymnastics and all of that. That all obviously, I'd mentioned earlier, I have a son. I had my son when I was 15, so I'd obviously stopped all of that because I've dedicated everything to looking after him and attending school. So by the time I came back to actually try and do this the second time and really give it my best go, I had no idea what my body was capable of at that point, because it had changed so much from what it was before. Like I was nearly 19 stone. I had a walking stick. I was a completely different sort of creature to what I had been in the first place. That it was really a lot of relearning things and really having to push through some right terror. Like falling backwards, you're not meant to do that. Like you're literally telling your body to do something that it is actively programmed to stop you doing. Like the minute you start falling without training, obviously your first instinct is this. And actually, this is the worst thing you can do, because you're going to end up breaking your wrist, breaking your elbow, potentially breaking your shoulder. Actually did happen to my grandmother recently. She's okay now, but she had that exact
wrestling.
No, but she did try and wrestle some stairs.
Oh,
it was an accident. She'd or the stairs to her house are right beside her bedroom door, and she'd go into the toilet in the middle of the night, and it was like just one step too far, and she's fell. But because she landed with her arm out straight, she's literally broken her wrist, her elbow, and her shoulder, which is the thing we always warn people about. So when you're like you're like, I'm going to throw myself at the ground now, and your brain's just like, no, you're not.
You're going to be taking your grand to your next wrestling class, and Nanageddon. Here we come.
Because I genuinely think my gran is like one of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. Like I've done cool things, right? But I genuinely don't think I'll ever be as cool as my gran. She was a Dalek for a day on telly. She used to work for the Canadian Embassy. She speaks French. She is related to one of the people that was on the first Alaska tour, like people that went to Alaska. She was also the Macmillan Cancer Lady on the leaflets for quite a few years. Like she's helping writing a book. She's part of a band. Do you know what I mean? She's just an amazing person. And I was like, please let me get you involved in wrestling somehow. Do you want to be my manager? Like, you're like, do you want to do something? And she just so politely turned around and she put her hand on my hand and was like, no, darling, I don't want to do that, but you can keep doing it. Okay. And that was it. That was the end of that conversation.
That's the politest no I've ever heard.
Oh, she's honestly like the most gentle, quiet person, but she's just, I don't know, like I'm convinced she's a fairy. She's just one of these people who she's got energy that she can talk to any human being, and she's like the most polite person. But then she's also had some absolutely mad situations in her life that you're just kind of like, how? Like what? How? Like how did you meet Billy Connolly? What do you mean? Like, and she'll just like go, or Gerard Butler was watching 300 once. And she comes into the room because she had Sky, we didn't, so we always watched stuff at her house. And we were watching 300, and she just walks in. She's like, "Oh, I know him." And you know that way, I'm like, "Aye, all right, Gran. Like, I'm sure you just know somebody that looks like him." And she's like, "No, I know him. He worked at our law office." And do you know that way, we didn't know anything about Gerard Butler at that point. So I'm going, "Aye, all right, Gran." I'm sure that happened. And she's like, no, he was he hated it. She's like, he was the only intern that basically got fired ever. He used to come in the same clothes the night before, and he just didn't want to be there, and you could just tell he wasn't liking it. And do you know what, we were fully not believing her until years and years later I see him tell the same story on a talk show where he's literally saying, "Oh, I was trained to be a lawyer. I hated it. I was out drinking all the time, and I had no passion for it." And do you know that way? I'm like, "Oh my god, she was telling the truth. She was actually telling the truth."
All those years doubting you, Nana.
I was like, I actually apologized. I was like, "I'm so sorry. I thought you were talking shit." I was like, I wholeheartedly apologize. I take it back.
No, that's listen. It's a small world, especially in the west of Scotland, as you well know.
Why?
Is there obviously you've had this summer of violence? You're now on a kind of wee break now just to recover. What's the plans kind of going forward? Do you have any shows kind of booked or anything coming up you're looking forward to?
So I have a few shows coming up for SWE, which is Scottish Wrestling Entertainment up in Dundee. They have monthly shows where myself and my partner go up and basically cause absolute havoc. The last show that we did, they would not let us in the building. They banned us from the show. So we protested outside, and then I might have found a fire exit. We broke in. It was a whole thing. But we have a show with them in September, at the end of September. I think it's the 26th, but I would need to double check. And I'm really looking forward to that. We will not be attending this month's show. We're taking August as a wee break. And then, we'll be back in September. I'm also hoping to start branching out a wee bit more in the UK as well. So I will be hopefully going over to Ireland again soon. We were over there last year, working with a company called OTT, which is where people such as Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, they came from there. They trained there under a man called Paul Tracy and a few others who are just utterly fantastic. And the plan is to try and get back over there in the next sort of few months and maybe start working over there more, hopefully.
That sounds like a plan. It's been a busy year, taking the kind of a month or two just to kind of get your wind back under you, and then you'll kick on for there. I've had a great time here. This has been a really good conversation. I think. I wish you nothing but the best. Wish you nothing but the best. Ruby, I was going to say Ruth there, but I was like that. We're breaking kayfabe again.
Do you know that? Do you know that's actually why I chose Ruby? Because it's the same first two letters.
Aye.
And then it's just the last two. I know I'll answer to it because I swear to God, see if I pick something like, I don't know, Janet or Onyx or some other like cool name, I know for a fact someone would be sitting there going, Onyx, hello. And I'd just be like, do.
It's in your name, world.
So I was like, no, I'll just make it super, super close to my actual name. And then that way I'll definitely answer people.
No, that's what it's all about. Well, listen, we'll sign off here because we've taken enough of your time. But we'll look forward to seeing the shows end of September up in Dundee, and then whatever happens in Ireland. Let's fingers crossed that all goes well for you.
I should probably mention as well that Respect Pro Wrestling do have another show. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about this. They have another show coming up in November. Tickets will be available if you look up Respect Pro Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All the details are on there, and you can get the link to the tickets on there as well.
Perfect. I'll get all that linked in the bios as we do. But yeah, no, we'll get all that. So Respect Pro Wrestling. That'll be a good one in November. Is that at the Annex by any chance?
No, it's actually in the Kilbirnie Labour Club.
Oh, well, there you go then. There you go. It's I used to work there many moons ago. And there you go. So again, small world.
Out in there.
I know if you can remember it. But yeah, no, listen. It has been a pleasure. Right, I'm on one here. The Iron Brew I've been drinking is not laced, I promise. No, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Ruth. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
No problem. Thank you very much for asking me. Like anytime, I'm always happy to rant forever.
No, listen, it's been good. It's been good. Well, we'll sign off there. If you want to get in contact with us, it's contact@thewhiskeysourhour.com. You can also get us through our Instagram and Facebook. It's just at the Whisky Sour Hour, and you can follow us, give us a like, follow YouTube, on subscribe. They're all there. I'll put it at the end of the show here just to make sure that it's nice and easy for you. But on that note, I've been Thomas Waddle. This has been Ruby, the basic bitch slayer, Roberts.
Thanks, guys.
And this has been the Whisky Sour Hour. Cheers.